Mike. What day is it, Mike? It's hump day. Yes, we are halfway through the week, my friends. I hope you've had a good beginning to your week, which is often created by planning. And we have the rest of the week to look forward to so that we can get things done. Now, on Monday Morning Cup of Joe, we were talking about the importance of roles. And role clarification became a big response from the student base, many of which work in human resources or they're supervisors, managers of departments. And there was a huge concern. They were recognizing some of the symptoms of role unclarity, if you want to call it that, right? This is a good diagnostic tool. If you have a team, whether you're a leader or a member, if you see some of the symptoms that I shared in Monday Morning Cup of Joe, and there were multiple, then you have a good reason to be concerned, and you are going to want to look into it deeper. If you had one, well, there's nothing wrong with looking into that, but does it indicate that you have, some role clarity issues? Perhaps maybe with one individual, one job title, very, very subtle stuff. So you have to look into that. That takes a certain amount of investigation to identify whether or not you have, in fact, a role clarity issue. Now, today, what I wanted to talk about would be the benefits of role clarity. So it eliminates the confusion. I mean, you could certainly take the list of all the drawbacks of unclear roles, what we call role ambiguity, and reverse them. But I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to tell you the most prominent benefits that I have seen with the hundreds of teams that I've worked with over my 33 years. So it does eliminate a lot of confusion and increased efficiency, and it increases effectiveness of the team overall. That's a common output. It also creates a very hyper productive team. When people are clear on their role and responsibility, they are able to get to the work. And that's probably most important. When you've got clarity in terms of what you need to do, you may be challenged about how you're going to get it done, but at least you know what you need to do. That's very, very important. Then the next one would be what I call synchronistic collaboration and teamwork. When everyone on the team knows what everybody else on the team is responsible for, then when they have a need, they know who exactly and directly to go to. So we begin to see ourselves as resources, not adversaries. And that's a huge increase in productivity, collaboration, and teamwork. That's really important to remember. The next one is constructive conflict and solution-oriented thinking. If we treat other people with respect and we have a conflict and we've been through the process of role clarification, which I will be showing you, we are more apt to go to that person and say, hey, I'm thinking maybe I own this area of responsibility for control reasons or whatever it may be, but they can share the rationale. And if there's still disagreement, there's an opportunity to bring a third party in. Now, if you're a team leader, supervisor, or manager, you can become the facilitator. Now, it's important that as a facilitator, we're not biased in one way or another. We operate based on fact. So that's another benefit. And the next one is improved decision-making in both timing and quality. So it takes less time to make decisions because we're going to the right people with the right information. We're not having to address the entire team. We know specifically what team members are involved, what decision needs to be made, and we're able to get that decision made with a higher level of quality because we have the input of those who are the contributors. So I hope that makes sense, but it works. Increased clarity around accountability and commitment. when we created our roles on the team, each of us had our roles clearly defined. We kept them posted in the department where everybody could see. So if I wasn't sure who owned what, I could refer to the role cards, as we called them, and said, oh, okay, this person does this. I need help in that area. I'm going to go talk to them. So it's kind of a who's who of your team, and it helps eliminate a lot of confusion and chaos that could ensue if you don't know who's responsible for what, or assume that nobody is and start doing it yourself. And then you've got duplicated efforts and, well, you know, the rest of that story. So that's very important also. Higher employee engagement and job satisfaction. Look, when people know what they need to be doing under their role, then you give them the freedom to do it, make it happen. And when people have that sense of control, control is key to job satisfaction, to being fulfilled. If you have control over the how you do what you do, then it gives you that sense of control and ownership in your job. So that's very, very important. And remember, involvement creates ownership. So when we get people involved in anything, it gives them a sense of ownership because they've contributed to the end result. And then again, I'm going to be sharing with you the process, but it also helps you create a balanced workload. You'll go through and take a look at the list of, you know, responsibilities, tasks and activities, key performance indicators of any one role. And when it starts to get, that list gets longer and longer, because look, in an agile organization, in today's constantly changing business environment, we are constantly having to take on new tasks, learn new skills, and we can, as a result, overburden some of our top players. And when we do that, we run the risk of losing those top players. If they're your go-to person and you keep piling stuff on their plate, that's going to create an incredible amount of job stress and is not beneficial. Allow people to take things on rather than throw things on their plate. Have the discussion with them. Hey, look, this is coming in. Do you want to handle that? Maybe you can do some horse trading. What I mean by that is maybe there's some things that you can take off their plate so that they can take on these new demands. That's super important. Be careful of overburdening your high performers, because you can lead them to burnout, or worse, they leave the organization. The next one is improved candidate selection. So when you've got clear job descriptions and you put it out there and say, hey, this is the job, you're going to weed out some of the people that don't fit that job. And you're going to get better quality candidates. You're going to be able to onboard people much smoother. And it allows them to acclimate to the work environment much quicker because they're clear on what they're going to be responsible for. And if they're not, they know what questions to ask of you so that they can gain the clarity they need to feel confident in the role that you're putting them in. So these are all very, very important. So how do you start doing this role clarification thing? I'm glad you asked. So the first thing that you want to do is get prepared. You know, you're going to have a session. You're going to have a session with your people on role clarification. And what makes that important is that you gather information ahead of time. Now, what I've done is I've surveyed the people on the team. I sent out a survey. What's your job title? Because some people, they don't know, or they think they know. But when it comes to job classification, and my friends in human resources will appreciate this, if there's something that's outside of a proper job classification, we could have legal problems. So we need to make sure that we have the proper classification for each role, and that the employee knows, or the contributor knows and understands that job description or that job title. right? And then find out from them, what are your areas of responsibility? What are your tasks and activities that you involve yourself in? Get a feel for what their current state of involvement is within their role. In addition to that, see if you can get documentation about job descriptions. Now, human resources should have a job description for everybody under the roof, but we know in reality, that's not always the case. And sometimes they make it the supervisor's job or the manager's job, whoever. The reality is that we need to make sure that we have a job description in order to run off of. Now, oftentimes job descriptions are outdated. So much change happens, again, in today's work environment and the changing culture of the organization and the industry. We've got to keep up on maintaining fresh and accurate job descriptions. So you're going to collect that also. So you've got the employee's experience of their role, and you've got the job description, hopefully, that you can kind of compare and say, hey, how do these match up? There may be some things in the job description we can get rid of. There may be some things in the employee's list of responsibilities that may not quite be exactly what you're looking for. Do as much of that as you can ahead of time, but be prepared to share both documents during your session. The next thing that you need to do is schedule the session. Now, look, give your team plenty of time and advance notice. Do not pop this on them. Oh, by the way, instead of today's team meeting, we're going to do role clarification. You're going to really throw a wrench in their thinking. No, get them mentally prepared. Give them time. Hey, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have this session to do some role clarification because we have experienced recently some conflicts that need to be resolved. And I want to make sure that everybody's being dealt with fairly. So we've got to do this as a team. We can't do it individually. Also be sensitive to their schedules and their time constraints. If they have deadlines, be cognizant of that. So that's the next step, is schedule the session. Then before that session starts, create the agenda. Now, I have a flip chart agenda that I put up there, just walking through the basics. However, I highly recommend that you have a nice, thick, large flip chart that has the postable ones where you can tear it off and stick them to the wall, because I use a process where each member of the team has their own flip chart sheet up on the wall, and they have a pad of Post-it notes where they can write down their current tasks and activities and stick them under the title of their role. Do not use individual names. Do not use an employee's name. Use a job title. Okay, a sanctioned job title. So you might want to run that list by human resources before you have your session. But that's what I do, is I have people put up, hey, think of the things that take up your time during the week. So listing meetings that you have to attend, listing the tasks and activities you're involved in. You could even, put a percentage of time spent in those areas if you'd like. That's helpful. Now, why I do this is because it creates a very interesting visual. You can see some of those flip chart sheets with Post-it notes to the point where you can't see the white of the sheet anymore. That's an overburdened individual. And then you may see other people in there with, 2 or 3 Post-it notes on there. Now, granted, those 3 Post-it notes may take up 100% of their time, but you get to see this. And if there's an opportunity to offload, like I said before, offload some of the tasks from one role to someone else, even if you have to create a new role of, team administrator or something like that, at least we're not overburdening, our high performers. We're creating balance, and that's very, very important as a part of role clarification. So create that agenda and make sure that you've got, flip chart sheets, Post-it notes, and plenty of pens and things that the team will need to be able to pursue their role clarification process. Now, the next one is address each role by job title, as I said, one at a time. Make sure that you are sharing this with the group. Hey, look, we're gonna go by role. So there's no, predetermined sequence of this. Maybe we go alphabetically based on job title. I don't know. But make sure that they're going to be a participant in this. Give them a safe psychological environment in which to do this. Do not be overly judgmental. Make sure that you're in a good mood. And have that, hey, I'm here to help attitude. Look, I want to make your lives better. I want you to be able to come into work and not have any undue stress. I want you to be able to love your job. This is important to convey to them so that they understand that you're creating this, or this process is taking place to improve their work life, not to make it more difficult. So that's very important. Check your mindset before you begin the session. Again, be positive, don't be punitive. Encourage and acknowledge participation and contribution whenever it's offered. When people see this, they're going to feel that it's a safe environment and they'll open up more. So don't be judgmental. Remember, the goal is clarity. At the current moment, there will be another session to hone and refine the roles. So will this take more than one session? Well, it depends on the size of your team and the amount of discussion, but I guarantee you the discussion that you experience during this process will be incredibly valuable. So don't shortcut it. If it runs into 2, 3, 4 sessions, you're going to reap incredible value from those conversations, more so than any other conversation could possibly have. And if it's causing you some of the symptoms that you recognized from Monday Morning Cup of Joe, it'll be well worth it. Now, we're kind of running out of time, and I do have a few more items that I'm going to add, but what I will do is I will make sure that we will add this to the Monday Morning Cup of Joe next week. Now, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that you will be able to use this tool to help improve the performance of your team. That being said, lead well, my friends, and I look forward to seeing you after a long, relaxing weekend on Monday Morning Cup of Joe.